Have you ever caught yourself noticing something about a man and thinking, does he even realize I can see that? Because here is the truth most men will never admit. They think they are hiding so much more than they actually are. And while men are busy wondering what women notice about their appearance, women are quietly reading something much deeper, something most men never even think about. Today we are going to talk about 7 things men have no idea women notice about them. And by the end of this, a lot of things in your past relationships are going to start making a lot more sense. The first thing women notice is how a man treats people he has nothing to gain from. Pay attention to this. Not how he treats you on a first date, not how he acts when he is trying to impress someone, how he treats the waiter, how he speaks to the cashier, how he acts around someone who cannot do anything for him, because that is where his real character lives. A man can hold doors open and say all the right things, but if he snaps at a server or talks down to someone in a lower position, women notice that instantly, and they do not forget it. That one moment tells her more about who you are than 100 perfect evenings ever could. Real character is not what you perform. It is what you do when no one important is watching. The second thing is how he handles being wrong. And this is something men genuinely do not realize women are clocking. When something goes wrong, when he makes a mistake, when the facts are clearly not on his side, how does he respond? Does he get defensive? Does he deflect? Does he find a way to make it somehow her fault? Or does he just own it, stay calm, and move forward? A man who cannot admit he is wrong is exhausting to be around long term. Women understand this early, because if he cannot handle being wrong about small things, he will never be able to handle conflict in a real relationship. A man who says, "I was wrong, I am sorry," without drama or ego attached to it, that is one of the most attractive things a woman can witness. Most men have no idea how powerful that is. The third thing in our list of 7 things men have no idea women notice about them is how he talks about his exes. Listen carefully. Women pay very close attention to this. Not because they are jealous or insecure, but because it tells them everything about how he processes relationships. If every single ex is crazy, every single situation was her fault, and he walked away from every relationship completely unbothered and blameless, that is information. That is not a string of bad luck. That is a pattern. A mature woman hears that and starts asking herself, what will he say about me one day? Because how a man speaks about women from his past shows how he sees women in general. It shows his emotional intelligence. It shows whether he has ever actually reflected on anything. Women are not looking for him to bash his ex or praise her. They are looking for something much simpler: accountability. Just a little self-awareness that says, I played a role too. The fourth thing is how present he actually is. And this goes so much deeper than just putting his phone down. Women notice whether a man is truly in the room with them or just physically there. Is he actually listening, or is he waiting for his turn to talk? Does he remember what she said last week, or does every conversation start from zero? Does he ask follow-up questions, or does he move straight to his own stories? Presence is not about grand gestures. It is about small, consistent moments of real attention. And women feel the difference between a man who is engaged and a man who is just going through the motions. You can be sitting right next to someone and still be completely absent. Women notice that absence. They just usually do not say anything about it right away. The fifth thing women notice, and this is one most men truly never expect, is how he responds to her success. Pay attention to this. When she gets a promotion, when she hits a goal, when something goes well for her, what does he do? Does he celebrate it genuinely? Does he get quiet? Does he change the subject? Does he subtly minimize it or bring the conversation back to himself? A man who is truly secure will light up for her wins the same way she lights up for his. But a man who feels threatened by her growth, even if he never says it directly, shows it in small ways. A shorter response, less enthusiasm, a subtle comment that takes the shine off the moment. Women feel all of that, even when they do not call it out. Over time, it adds up, and it quietly builds a wall between them. The sixth thing is his relationship with his own emotions. Women notice very quickly whether a man has ever actually sat with himself, whether he has any idea what he feels and why. Because emotional unavailability does not always look like coldness. Sometimes it looks like constant jokes. Sometimes it looks like changing the subject whenever something real comes up. Sometimes it looks like anger being the only emotion he knows how to express. A woman who is paying attention sees through all of that. She is not expecting a man to be perfect. She is not expecting him to cry at every conversation. She just wants to know that somewhere underneath all of it, there is a real person who can show up. A man who understands his own emotions, even imperfectly, even quietly, creates safety. And safety is what women are ultimately looking for. The seventh thing in our list of 7 things men have no idea women notice about them is the gap between what he says and what he does. And this one matters most of all. Men often do not realize how carefully women track consistency. Not in an obsessive way, just in a paying attention way. When he says he will call and he does not. When he says something is important to him but never makes time for it. When his words keep pointing in one direction and his actions keep going in another. Women notice that gap, and the longer it goes on, the less his words mean. It does not matter how good the explanation is. At some point, actions become the only language that counts. A man who understands this has a real advantage, not because he is performing, but because he gets that trust is not built through promises. It is built through the small, consistent, everyday choices to do what you said you were going to do. Now, here is what is important to understand. This is not about catching men out or building a case against them. That is not the point at all. 7 things men have no idea women notice about them is really about awareness. Because when both people in a relationship understand what actually creates trust and attraction, everything works better. Women stop feeling unseen and unheard. Men stop wondering why things fall apart when they felt like they were doing everything right. The truth is, most of what women are watching for is not complicated. It is not about looks. It is not about money. It is not about perfection. It is about character, consistency, emotional maturity, the willingness to show up, be honest, and treat people with respect, even when no one is grading you on it. And the men who naturally live that way do not have to try to impress anyone. Their presence does it for them. If this gave you something to think about, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button now, because we put out content like this every week. Real talk, no fluff, just the things that actually matter in relationships.